team having the right here, of course, to ban and to first pick. Fortress it is. We have seen Fortress work out so far. You know, if you can proc, if you can follow up with the damage on a single target, that works. So SK Medic here picking that Sky. That can be deadly either or. I think all three softlock choices here are a good one. I personally prefer a little bit the Glaive one, but it looks like they feel good with Cool.
Yeah, so right now, like, they have a lot that they're able to choose from. There was a Glaive, there was a Adagio, and there was a Cruel. With the Cruel here, they do get sustainability. Like, Cruel can go into that up into that front line. He could, you know, use his barrier and help as much as he can, but you do get that Sky in that with that forward barrage standing in the back, and it does work quite a bit. I was kind of glad that I didn't see the Adagio pick coming up to pair up with the Sky.
All right.
I feel like although that does work more often than others, they will get countered by Mousesports very easily with the next two picks.
Yeah, I have to agree there with you, unless you're going for a super special weapon Sky and you try to utilize that Adagio with the Sky, might work out. We have a little bit of an issue here, so we will do the redraft and reban. Of course, everything stays the same. So while we have the time, let's talk a little bit. You know, we are focusing so much about SK because of the changes, because of everything. Mousesports, right? Mousesports coming in pretty strong. Again, it never happened that Mousesports, former rebirth of Empire, that they had like a bad day or so, right?
Yeah.
They are always consistently performing well. Why is that? Do you think like just this little talent? I feel they have a little roster. They are not playing around too much with changes. Is that a key to success?
Well, the thing is, like, they've had like major roster I wouldn't say changes, but like swap-ins.
Yeah.
Where you did see Mr. K Cool jump into the live championships out of nowhere, not even playing in the qualifiers.
Exactly.
And the dominance that came out of them from day one. So this is something that they've been working a lot on in terms of building up that synergy between all three members. You have Netoilette, you have Great Khalid, you have Upfire,
Exactly.
along with Mr. K Cool, who's able to like step in at any moment. Any of them is able to swap out, and they still have that strong, dominant starting roster.
Yeah. Absolutely true. And of course, Great Kali with last weekend's 1 versus 3 ace on Sky. Remarkable skills there. The mechanics from this young, also a German player. So this is a more or less German organization matchup. Not to point out that talents are often from Germany, but unfortunately, or fortunately, it is. And we are in the draft here. We have on the other side Mr. K Cool. He is now picking that Adagio, and Netoilette is going for the Vox. What do you think about the comp from Mousesports?
Like, this was like actually this was the composition that I felt would have been taken up by Mousesports.
Okay.
Had SK Gaming not pick up at the Adagio when it was their second pick, and you know, we might most likely will be seeing Great Kali playing up that Vox again, and I think this will work out very well for them. They have a strong buff composition coming out, but they will have to deal with a lot of the poke damage coming out of Sky. I feel like Sky can be the biggest playmaker in this game if done right.
Alright, so we will see. I'm very excited to see the synergy between Medic, Cream, and Ref. Not that I'm questioning that, but we have seen a lot of, you know, changes, this and that. Medic known more or less as the shot caller, so he will definitely do that, guys. Enough talk. We are in the fold. Action Jackson, X-Counterl, last quarterfinal match, guys. Take it away.
I think you mean not enough talk, because now you're passing it over to the casters, right? That's what we're here to do, and we're going to be doing a lot of it in this last series of the evening for Europe. It's Mousesports up against SK, and it should be an awesome game.
Yeah, again, Great Kali, we've seen him on Vox before, and he was incredible here. I'm going to say Netoilette's skin is pretty awesome. I think that skin for
I've got that one.
Fortress.
I love it, man. See,
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd ever pick the Netherworld one. I know it looks more like badass, but do you want to look badass when you could be like a rain dog?
You want to look like a rain dog. I think it's absolutely ridiculously awesome. So yes, Mousesports versus SK Gaming. This is
Mr.
a
K Cool.
German affair here. Oh, okay. And we've already seen a German affair result in a kill for SK. They managed to pick up the Adagio in lane with the Cruel. They can punish Adagio. Pretty immobile champion, as I say that.
Well, I mean, I feel Great Kali and Net Toilette trying to come back with some kills here is just way too bold with Medic having the option of rotating down. This is going to likely be 3 kills picked up for the side of SK, sub 1.5 minutes. That is a pretty intense early game lead, especially when you're also losing your back camps. Mousesports, right out of the gate, do not look like themselves.
That is bruising for Mousesports right here, and Adagio gets picked up in lane. I think once he was down and the rest of SK were rotating into the jungle, that should have been the sign for Great Kali and Net Toilette to just back out. Just, you know, that's it, okay? We're a Vox and a Fortress. You're not gonna duel an Arden and a Cruel at this point in the game, and there was no way they were gonna face up to that. Especially with Medic providing support from the back line with the forward barrage. You know, I think you need to realistically look at this in terms of your champions, and when your champions spike, you're not gonna do well with a Vox and a Fortress versus a Cruel and an Arden, who are just such heavy bruisers at this point.
Well, they might be going for another fight here. This time, Cream does take a lot of damage immediately, but look at Net Toilette. He is super low. Medic not able to jump on the backline, though, and Cream goes down. Raph waiting in the bush, I presume to get his heroic perk activated, but kind of letting Cream die there. I don't know if I like that too much, but in any case, Mousesports are able to finally get a return kill, so not all is lost for the side of Mousesports in this early game.
Yeah, not absolutely lost. They managed to pick up a return kill. It does go over to Mr. K Cool, so that's going to be Adagio picking up a kill. He's obviously got the revolver to help him farm slightly better, but we imagine this is going to be, I don't guess, an alternating current Adagio, given that it's in lane. You think that if this was Adagio that was going to be going more towards a Shatterglass, he would be in the jungle, because obviously you would restrict his gold income. So you think this is more of an alternating current Adagio coming forward here. It's going to be the weapon power Vox as well. We haven't actually seen a crystal power Vox today. It's all been in the form of that weapon power. So people really loving that overdrive on his A ability.
Uh-oh, Net Toilette going to be face checking yet again. Look at the early damage going straight onto him. Mr. K Cool is a bit of a threatening presence on the front line, though, with the amount of damage that he has already. So SK not wanting to go a little bit too deep onto the back line here. And Toilette and Kali. Cream knows where they are, so they're going to have to just back off here and try and play it safe, lest Raph and Cream jump onto them, try and pick up some more kills. So far, Mr. K Cool still very far away from all this action. Raph, yeah, he just wants to try and pick up some kills here. Admittedly, Smite does do a lot of work in the early game, but he's not able to get enough stacks up onto one person. He distributes them across both, which isn't really ideal, as Cream jumps back in thinking maybe he can pick up Net Toilette. So far, he hasn't been able to. Medic now rotated in, though. He's going to land the forward barrage. Actually, he misses a lot of the forward barrage there. Net Toilette goes down, though. Great Kali very, very low. But look at this. Minions blocking the forward barrage. Cream going to fall. Mr. K Cool, one more attack would do it, but he can't quite pick up Medic there. Great Kali, he's got to run into enemy territory to back off here. Overall, pretty messy fight, I'd say, on both ends.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I feel like this is just being dragged into the dirt. Actually, Great Kali, he very narrow. Oh, he's just going to run past Ryan.
But that's so bold. He's trying to get medics. He doesn't even get medic. Oh, that is pretty crushing.
I feel like his decision to try and exit the enemy jungle towards his own was bad, given that he just saw that team fight occur in their enemy jungle. And, you know, unless you're banking on them retreating, but after winning a fight so heavily and having 2 members alive, you never retreat really for a back. You look to swoop through the enemy jungle, take away the camps, and then move towards your own jungle, and then maybe back or go towards the middle item shop once you picked up the gold from just annihilating the jungle.
It kind of hurts to see that, to be honest, because it actually compounded what was already a really problematic situation. If he'd just recalled, for example, in the enemy jungle, then he could have gotten back to his or the lane and farmed up maybe a little bit afterwards. But because he wasted time walking around aimlessly in the enemy jungle and then died, that's even more time that he's out of action. Now Great Kali gonna get collapsed on, stunned up, forward barrage doing so much damage. Net Toilette gonna be the next target, and just barely able to get back to the turret. But overall, SK, the pressure they are putting on Mousesports right now is on a completely different level than Mousesports' reaction to it.
And Medic, he's in the brush. He can get a good forward barrage.
Yeah, but Mr. K Cool kind of expected something like this might happen, and now Medic actually in a very dicey position, trying to get the forward barrage backwards, but he doesn't pick up the kill. Mr. K Cool, kind of the saving grace here, I would argue, for Mousesports.
Yep.
Doing relatively well, barring that early death in the gank.
Agreed, but it did buy time for that, as you said that. Mr. K Cool goes down.
Caster's curse, man. I shouldn't have said anything.
That play by Medic did buy time for SK to very safely and effectively take that gold miner, so they do get themselves a bit of a gold input there. They're only 1k ahead despite being 3-8 in the kill score right now. I think Raph has been doing a great job of using that heroic perk, by the way.
Ooh, that toilet.
What is going on here? This is not Mousesports.
I honestly don't understand why you would go in there. Raph is in melee range already. You're just going to get weakness stacks and smited.
I think Mousesports has been playing incredibly odd. This is not the kind of Mousesports we saw last weekend, and maybe not even the Mousesports that you saw in the last qualifier either. This has been definitely Termulus as Mr. K Cool. He's going to be subject to a gank here.
Mr. K Cool jumped on yet again. Forward barrage lands the entire charge. He goes down without a second thought. SK 10 kills to 3 right now. And since when you mentioned it previously, they've actually escalated the gold lead to about 2,000. They're going to have some pressure onto this turret right now. Could even increase that gold lead to perhaps 3,000. Wait for it used. Doesn't land onto anyone. Great Kali misses completely. The gauntlet gets popped. Not quite going to land onto Net Toilette, though. I mean, I don't want to be too disparaging to Mousesports, but it's difficult to argue with the fact that they're really just not showing up so far. Yes, I think obviously Vox is going to be much more potent in the late game, but when you've actually got the Fortress Adagio combination, that does a lot of damage in the early game, especially the Adagio. I don't know, I think they just need to play safer, get better vision. There's like no vision on Mousesports' side, except for one scout trap in their side bush.
Yeah,
they're putting more down. Now.
Yeah, they've got some vision, but yeah, you've got two scout traps. One's very oddly placed around that item shop area for them. I imagine they're looking for an exit scout trap or maybe an entrance scout trap if they're looking to invade on that side of the jungle. So I guess these are what you could consider very defensive scout traps for Mouse at this point in time, and I think that's, given the state of the game, the only way they can play. We're going to have obviously the alternating current being finished here for Mr. K Cool, so that'll be a fairly decent item spike in terms of damage. But you can see, Medic feels so safe at this point in time. He's not even going to go for the Frostburn first. He's going to pick up the Broken Myth straight away. And you're already starting to see Atlas Pauldrons and an Aegis picked up for Raph. So he's going to be almost impossible to deal with as he just runs amok in the Mousesports lineup in the backline.
I really like this going for a Broken Myth here, to be honest. I think you probably don't need the Frostburn when you want to be engaging via from Hell's Heart and Gauntlet. So you're not really focusing on disengaging from anyone on the lineup from Mousesports.
Exactly, but the point is that Medic's not going to feel threatened because there's no real melee threat. Oh, okay.
Mr. K Cool, you don't have a turret there. He's going to get smitten down. Raph picks up another kill. 7-0 and 2 at 10 minutes right now. Raph is indeed ridiculous, as the message just said on our screens. And he's pretty darn strong in terms of the tankiness on him as well. Atlas Pauldron and Aegis, plus the attack speed to really help him land as many of those weakness stacks as possible. Yeah, looks like SK are slowing down a little bit, though. It's hard for them to just straight up push a turret when members of Mouse are there.
Yeah, exactly. They are going to probably be, I'd say, the best option now. They're going to try and maybe hit Hell's Heart on Mr. K Cool and look for an execute, but otherwise the best option, I think, is just to steal away as much jungle as possible. Try and maybe take out this minion mine if you need to, and then just move for the jungle. I think that a lot of the way that SK are capitalizing here is just through poor vision control. I don't know if you want this fight, SK. Sorry,
yeah,
Mouse.
They're going to try and pick one here. Cream and Raph jumping onto the backline. Kali gets stunned up by from Hell's Heart, but he's actually healing up a decent amount from the Fount. It's not going to be enough, though. Raph and Medic jumping in here onto Mr. K Cool. Mr. K. Cool does get the stun onto Cream, but still can't pick up the kill. Cream is keeping this going with no health, trying to get onto Net Toilette and just baiting him into a compromising position. It's going to be a clean ace for SK at 11 minutes into the game. 14 kills to 3. SK are on fire.
Yeah, and as soon as the Crucible comes down for Cream, that'll be game, set, and match, I think, unless we can really take this into the later stages for Mouse. Because once that Crucible comes down, that Judgment becomes ineffective, and then SK have free roam to do what they please with this Cruel. I remember every time that Cruel fights in the jungle, this is exactly where he wants to be. He can make use of his heroic perk, he can run very, very quickly and effectively onto his opposition. So whenever these fights occur in the jungle, this is exactly what SK want. You can see Raph instantaneously just looking for something to happen. Every time he's in a brush, in the shadows, he's just waiting to activate that perk.
Yeah, he is indeed. And SK right there taking away a few back camps. I think were probably considering fighting, but they didn't want to without the gauntlet available. So they're just going to back away, pick up the gold mine. Without better vision, it's hard for them to take the minion mine in case they get jumped on. But I'm not sure they need to right now. I mean, they've got basically every advantage they could want, having picked up the 2 turrets, several gold mines, and many, many kills. Right now, Mousesports just grouping up. Not sure if that's enough here, though, to win a fight.
No, potentially not. I think grouping up is just a little bit too... Well, I wouldn't even say too little too late, because I think a grouping up at early stages of the game is exactly against what Mousesports were planning on doing. But I think you have to group and have safety in numbers, hopefully avoid team fights with SK. I guess at this point you want to avoid contact at all possible. And you can see they're not even going to try and exit their own jungle. They are literally going to have to back just to remain safe and look for an exit.
I feel like someone made the call, hang on, they're going to go for our minion mine, let's ambush them. And then they were like, wait, we'll die. And so they decided to back off and just fight with the turret, because the turret is going to be much more useful as a defensive anchor point or pivot point for Mousesports than the minion mine is. Right now, though, Medic doing a decent amount of poke, nothing tremendous, nothing crazy like we've seen from some skies, as she only has the Eve and the Broken Myth, no Shatterglass. But the wave clear is very significant, and it's really forcing Mousesports to just farm lane minions rather than doing anything in their jungle.
Interesting that she went for the Eve of Harvest instead of the Frostburn second. I feel like Frostburn, given the way that she built initially, would have been... Oh, okay.
Mousesports, they actually want to engage right now. That's going to be the attack of the pack popped. Medic doing so much damage, sustaining through everything on the back line, though. Jumping on a Great Kali, easily able to pick up the kill. Mr. K. Cool going to be the last man standing. Very difficult for him to get away here, though, with the Shiver Steel stacking onto him. Smite goes across. It's another ace for SK Gaming as they look towards their 3rd tower of the game. Mousesports, they're falling apart at the seams.
I don't know why Mouse thought they could go for that. The Eve of Harvest actually paying dividends to Medic, but I think in the normal team fights that we've seen from these guys, Frostburn may have been better just because it allows Cruel to, especially if you're hitting your forward barrage, it does allow Cruel to be more effective in terms of the ability to catch up. And, you know, Cruel at this point is the one that's just dishing out those executes left, right, and center. I think this is going to be a good opportunity to pick up the gold mine and maybe 15 seconds later pick up the Kraken here for SK.
Man, you know what SCMC needs to make? They need to make an Executioner Kroll skin. That would be so sick. I'd buy that.
I just figured out what SEMC stands for. How is it taking me this long to realize what that? How is it taking me this long to figure out that that acronym was that?
That is spectacular.
Wow, spectacular. Yeah, Kraken's gonna be started here for SK.
All right, Kraken. Let's get cracking on with this cast, shall we? It looks like SK shouldn't have too much trouble picking this one up. They are massively in the lead right now, sitting at about 7,000 gold ahead of their opponents. They now have the Kraken unleashed, and the next push into the base could be a pretty significant one with only 2 turrets remaining for Mousesports.
Yeah, and that gold lead is being pushed out to 7,000 at this point in time as well. SK have dominant from the get-go in this game, and Sky at this point in time, very, very heavy damage. There's Aegis, a Crucible, and Aegis, and Raph as well. So there's plenty to deal with the realistically the only form of CC you might want to try and avoid, which is the Versa Judgment. But obviously it can block just other abilities too. Maybe it'll block a very crucial ability from Vox or from Adagio himself when it's not the Versa Judgment. So yeah, there is a good amount of defense here as well. And I like that they all went for the Aegis. They're not really prioritizing the armor because most of the damage at the moment is coming up from Mr. Keiko.
Attack of the pack getting popped. That's going to be the gauntlet in response. Cream currently the one on the front lines leading the charge. Mr. Keiko not getting a hit by the From Hell's Heart though, as Net Toilette blocks it. Great Kali still full health on the backside,
snipe.
but Mr. Keiko gets absolutely annihilated by the snipe. Here comes SK. They're trying to pile onto the back line right now. Net Toilette going to be the next target to go down. Kraken still sitting at about 25% health. After the turret dies, it will take a bit more damage, but I don't think it's going to be enough unless Great Kali can pull out a miracle here. It is going to be Mousesports losing in Game 1 up against SK. Very impressive performance from the reformed lineup of SK. And Mousesports, they need to have a serious look at what's going on moving into Game 2, or they could well be out.
They need to pick or ban Cruel at this point in time. That Cruel was devastating. I think the initial mistake that potentially threw the entire game was thinking that they could fight somehow with a Fortress and a Vox in the jungle versus an Arden and a Cruel. Not going to happen, my friends, unfortunately. And that kind of started that process of the snowball, and SK just ran away with it from there.
All right, so I mean that game was very cut and dry. I don't feel like there's